Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm Liang Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's stories. At California's capital, 5 are dead after a man shot and killed his 3 children and another person before committing suicide. And Santa Clara County is soon joining all other counties across the state in lifting its masking mandate. County health officials announced Tuesday morning. And 2 shipping companies are facing a lawsuit over an oil spill from last year. The company that owns the oil rig alleges their pipes were damaged by ships and that if they had been notified right away, they would have made repairs. More in just a moment here on California Today. A man shot and killed his 3 children and a 4th person before taking his own life on Monday in a church in Sacramento County.
The Sacramento County Sheriff's Department told reporters near the scene that investigators were seeking clues to a motive for the bloodshed, but believed the shooting came from a domestic dispute. The shooting erupted at about 5 p.m. inside the church in Sacramento, located in the Arden Arcade community on the eastern edge of Sacramento city limits. A church employee on the upper floor of the church at the time told authorities he heard a single gunshot, followed by several more shots before he ran out of the building and called police.
I can tell you that the church will be putting out a full statement whilst they're organizing. We're not at liberty to discuss any details about anything because of the families, which I'm sure you all understand. So when our elders are ready, they will release a statement to the media.
Sheriff's deputies arriving at the scene found 5 people shot to death. 3 children under the age of 15, the father, and another adult who was not immediately identified by investigators.
Our instant reaction was it's very sad because one of the girls was my age, and it's like she had a pretty life ahead of her to live still, and it's like she died very young with her other siblings. We were shocked that how could a father kill their own kids?
The father was believed to have shot the 4 other victims before turning the gun on himself. Authorities did not say whether the second adult was related to the other family members or whether the person was a man or woman. Local television station KTVU cited Sacramento County Sheriff Scott Jones as saying that investigators believe the shooting unfolded during a supervised visit between the father and the children, and that the 4th victim was the adult chaperone.
Today, officials revealed that the father was under a restraining order and not supposed to have a gun. He shot and killed his 3 daughters, a chaperone, and himself during a supervised visit with the girls at the church. The girls were ages 9, 10, and 13. They attended the schools in the Natomas Unified School District in northwestern Sacramento. Mask restrictions have been eased once more for the state. While the government won't be mandating masks for anyone, employers can still make their own rules.
On Monday night, Governor Gavin Newsom signed an executive order updating workplace safety rules. Now, unvaccinated workers are not required to mask in the workplace. The new guidance still recommends masks, but masking is not required for unvaccinated employees. Despite the changes, employers are still allowed to require workers to wear masks. The new orders last through May 5th.
For weeks, Santa Clara had been the only Bay Area county still with an indoor mask mandate. But now county health officials say it's dropping the indoor masking rule. NTD's Cynthia Kai spoke with some locals to hear what they think about masking rules.
Santa Clara County health officials say it's time to drop the mask mandates. Starting March 2nd, the county will be moving from a masking requirement to a masking recommendation, regardless of vaccination status. Some locals say they are ready to take off their masks, while others, not so much. The county has met all 3 metrics for dropping the mask mandates. It has maintained 550 or fewer cases per day for a full week. The county has low and stable hospitalization numbers and an 80% or higher vaccination rate.
But we've reached a level where it feels safe enough to make the transition from requirement to strong recommendation, and that's the transition that we'll be making as of tomorrow, March 2nd.
Cody added that there is no county-wide vaccination mandate. Additionally, the statewide masking mandate for K-12 schools and childcare facilities will end on March 12th. Santa Clara County will align with state guidelines. Masks are still required on public transit in healthcare settings, shelters, and jails. Some people say they are ready to take off their masks.
I personally don't like the mask, but people are going to be upset about it. I honestly feel like that we should have our masks taken off finally, show our true faces, because that's what we needed 3 years ago.
Others feel it's too soon and the masks should stay on for a little longer.
I think it's too soon. I think we should keep it for at least another year until it has to decrease dramatically, and then I think that's when we're really ready. Or when we get a for sure vaccine that's gonna for sure prevents it, then that's when we should get rid of it.
Santa Clara and Los Angeles counties were the last in the state to drop indoor masking requirements. Los Angeles County's mandate ended last Friday, making Santa Clara the last to drop the rule as of March 2nd. Cynthia Kai, NTD News, California.
Los Angeles mayoral candidate Rick Caruso announced his support of recalling LA District Attorney George Gascon. But Caruso previously backed Gascon during the now controversial DA's 2020 campaign.
I firmly believe that George Gascon needed to stand up, admit that many of his policies have put the city of Los Angeles in peril, crime is rising, change those policies, or he should step down, and if he doesn't step down, he should be recalled.
Caruso previously served on LAPD's police commission from 2001 to 2003. He co-hosted a fundraiser for Gascon's campaign against Jackie Lacey and donated $3,000 to him. But Caruso, a billionaire businessman, soured on Gascon for his protective policy reforms. One example is removing sentencing enhancements for suspects who used a gun during a crime. Caruso later donated $45,000 to Jackie Lacey's campaign. Caruso's campaign manager, Peter Ragone, said the candidate will be donating $50,000 to the recall effort. Others have endorsed the recall, including Mayoral candidate LA Councilman Joe Buscino, the Association of Deputy District Attorneys, the Association for Los Angeles Deputy Sheriffs, and the Los Angeles Police Protective League. Los Angeles superintendent is moving funds away from COVID-related issues and into education, according to some recent statements. On top of that, the district is planning a major increase in online enrollment, as tens of thousands of students will be kept off campus next fall for not taking COVID jabs.
The new superintendent of Los Angeles Unified School District laid out an academic recovery plan for student education and expenses for online learning. Alberto Carvalho confirmed Monday that the district will create several new online schools. The move is in anticipation of an influx of online program enrollment. That's due to the district's impending COVID jab mandate for the fall semester. Students who have not taken the jab will be ineligible for in-person learning based on the district mandates. An estimated 34,000 students over the age of 12 have not received the jabs. The district's City of Angels online learning program, the only long-term independent study program, saw enrollment increase more than 10 times. Chief of Schools David Baca said in a February meeting that the district anticipates enrollment increasing, not decreasing. Carvalho said he'd allocate $16.2 million of COVID relief funds to new online schools for the first 2 years. Last Thursday, he said he will prioritize academic recovery for students with his 100-day plan. Similar to the online schools, the program will refocus district funds from pandemic safety measures to academic performance. Carvalho introduced the plan at an award event, saying the level of academic regression and unfinished learning that has piled up is impressive and devastating to the lives of a lot of students across the country. Carvalho plans to scale back COVID testing for students and staff and reallocate funding to learning programs. School officials said in February that testing and contact tracing will cost the district about $527 million by the end of the year. The price tag is 4 times the amount projected in June 2021.
A major oil spill in Southern California last year has led to both lawsuits and legislation. A new suit was filed on Monday, but this time was from the company that owns the oil rig. They say it was the shipping companies that damaged their pipes, leading to the disaster.
Amplify Energy filed a lawsuit on Monday against 2 shipping companies, accusing them of dragging anchors over their oil pipe, making it spring a leak. The leak in the pipe led to a major crude spill off the coast of Huntington Beach last October. About 126,000 gallons of heavy crude oil was spilled into the ocean. The company is suing the owners of the container ships Mediterranean Shipping Co. and Dordelas Finance Corp., along with the captains and crews and other associated companies, as well as the Marine Exchange, which is responsible for directing traffic around San Pedro Bay. Amplify Energy is alleging that if it had been notified right away about the anchor strikes, it would have immediately assessed the situation and made any necessary repairs, according to a statement from the company. The lawsuit alleges that both of the ships had been anchored in San Pedro Bay on January 25, 2021, awaiting to unload cargo. A storm was brewing, so many of the other ships in the area took refuge in deeper waters. The MSC Danet and COSCO Beijing did not. Instead, they remained anchored about 4.8 miles off the California coast, next to the undersea San Pedro Bay pipeline, which has been in place since 1980. Wind gusts up to 63 miles per hour in the storm that pushed waves up to 17 feet high and pulled the ship's anchors through waters where anchoring was prohibited. As a result, the anchors dragged a 4,000-foot section of the pipeline across the seafloor, the lawsuit alleged. Amplify Energy is seeking damages for harm to its business and reputation, as well as for repairs and replacing the pipeline and for the loss of income from suspending its operation.
And coming up, a new study claims that the central section of the San Andreas fault can cause large earthquakes. People have thought it was previously harmless. New legislation may be underway to add more misdemeanors to a list that limits people from owning firearms. San Diego is heading up the effort. Preschoolers may soon get free meals, thanks to a bill proposing to require the state to reimburse daycare facilities for providing 2 meals every day. We'll have more for you on California Today when we return. The San Andreas Fault has been the source of several large earthquakes in the state's history. People have assumed that the northern and southern sections are the dangerous parts, but a recent study claims otherwise. NTD's David Lamb reports.
The San Andreas Fault stretches nearly 800 miles through the state of California. It has a northern, central, and southern section. The central section is known as a creeping section, where the plates move freely and have been known to be harmless.
So the central section has little earthquakes, but we don't have any historic or paleoseismic records until now.
Results from a new study published on February indicates that large earthquakes can occur over long periods of time in the middle section. Savage is one of the co-authors of the study. Previous knowledge thought that earthquakes are limited to the northern and southern section of the fault.
And what we found is that there is evidence that large earthquakes have occurred in that creeping section.
Savage said they used biomarkers and a measurement of potassium argon in samples from the San Andreas Fault Observatory at depth to find evidence of earthquakes. She said this type of method wasn't available before. One of the authors of the study said there's a potential for large earthquakes from the central area. Cities along the central part of the fault include Bitterwater and Parkfield. San Andreas is one of the 2 major fault lines in California, the other being the nearby Hayward Fault. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
Retired UFC star Cain Velasquez was arrested for his alleged involvement in a shooting on Monday in San Jose.
Officials say the shooting resulted with one man being wounded and sent to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Velasquez is being held without bail for attempted murder, and the San Jose police say the motive for the incident is still under investigation. Velasquez held the UFC heavyweight championship belt twice, once in 2010 and once in 2012. Jason Blair, NTD News, San Francisco.
Indictments came out last week of what may be the largest cryptocurrency scams ever committed. The Southern California court listed a range of charges against the founder of a crypto trading company.
The U.S. Attorney's Office in San Diego said a grand jury indictment came in for what may be the largest case of cryptocurrency fraud ever. The case is against BitConnect founder Satish Kumar Kurjabi Kumbani of India, and there are plenty of crimes that he may have committed. Kumbani allegedly defrauded investors out of more than $2 billion. Prosecutors say BitConnect functioned as a Ponzi scheme. The company told investors that it used proprietary technology called BitConnect Trading Bot and volatility software to make massive returns. In reality, new investors' funds were paying off old investors. Kumbani is also charged in a separate alleged scheme with artificially inflating the price of BitConnect's digital currency. He made it appear that the currency called BitConnect Coin had a higher demand than it really did. He also allegedly ran an unlicensed money transmitting business and took part in international money laundering.
California may be adding certain people to its list of individuals forbidden from owning a firearm.
Democratic Assemblyman Brian Mayenshine from San Diego announced legislation on Friday that is intended to block people convicted of certain crimes from possessing firearms. Current state law prevents people convicted of a felony from legally owning a firearm. It also prohibits people convicted of certain misdemeanors from possessing a firearm for 10 years after their conviction. Mayinshine's Assembly Bill 2239 would expand the misdemeanor list to include child endangerment and elder abuse. Mayenshine announced the legislation in partnership with San Diego's mayor and city attorney. They passed similar legislation in January requiring firearms to either have a trigger lock or be in a secured container when not in possession of a lawful gun owner.
Lawmakers are seeking to provide free school lunches for preschoolers, expanding the state's meal program that will make breakfast and lunch free for K-12 students.
A Senate bill is being introduced to give preschoolers free meals. Senator Josh Becker introduced SB 1481 on February 18th that would require the state to reimburse daycare facilities for providing 2 meals every day, as long as they abide by nutrition standards. In a statement, the San Mateo County senator said, California's youngest children cannot be left out of our state's groundbreaking meal policy to tackle food insecurity among learners. According to Becker's office, the current reimbursement amount for providers caps at 75% of the meal cost, with $34 million in unreimbursed amounts annually. The proposed law intends to help providers who have been hit by the COVID-19 pandemic while also leaving more income in the pockets of childcare providers. 13 state lawmakers are supporting the legislation, especially legislators in rural areas that view this bill as being a saving grace. In a statement, co-author Assemblyman Tom Lackey of Palmdale said, all young people should be free from the stress of explaining their circumstances when seeking nourishment. The bill was introduced shortly after SB 364 was passed in January, which allowed for students K-12 to receive free meals. The pending bill is expected to be heard in the spring.
California saw a drier than normal start to the year. The California Department of Water Resources says the past 2 months saw below average snowfall levels.
January and February have been drier than normal this year. The Department of Water Resources says the surplus snow levels in the Sierra Nevada from huge December storms have been wiped out.
December, January, and February are traditionally our 3 wettest months of the water year, producing over half of our annual rainfall. However, this past January and February were actually the driest consecutive January and February on record, dating back over 100 years in the Sierra Nevada.
The third monthly survey found that the snowpack is now at about 2/3 of normal.
So for the survey today, we recorded a snow depth of 35 inches and a snow water content of 16 inches. That results in 68% of average to date and 66% of the April 1 averages at this location.
Comparatively, a wet December in California had snow levels at more than 200% of normal at the start of 2022. It was still at 109% average as of February 1st, despite a dry January. However, a second straight month of little to no rain across much of the state has officials calling for continued conversation amid the ongoing drought. The U.S. Drought Monitor showed a slight worsening of the drought intensity between mid-February through the end of the month.
Now for a sports update from NTD's Thomas Christian.
I'm Thomas Christian, giving you the California Today Sports Roundup. On Sunday night in their own home arena, the Los Angeles Lakers were booed by their own fans. Guard Russell Westbrook shrugged off the chorus of boos that descended on the team after a blowout home loss and vowed to stay positive, despite the team's struggles, which have been going on all season long. The shorthanded squad suffered a humiliating 123-95 loss on Sunday to the New Orleans Pelicans, one of the worst teams in the NBA. The Lakers are in 9th place in the Western Conference with 22 games remaining in the season, a far cry from where they expected to be at the start. This all started when LeBron James urged the Lakers front office to trade for Westbrook in the offseason, sending 3 quality role players and some picks away in the process. Since Westbrook joined the team at the beginning of the season, he has yet to gel with his teammates James and Anthony Davis, and has been repeatedly criticized for his poor defense and lack of basketball IQ. The former MVP was almost traded for the Houston Rockets' John Wall at the NBA trade deadline, but he makes so much money on his contract that no other NBA team would want to give anything up for him. The Lakers are stuck between a rock and a hard place, as the veteran point guard said it was important for the team to stick together and resist the urge to blame one another after disappointing performances. The Lakers will be without Anthony Davis for at least the next 3 weeks after the forward suffered a mid-foot strain in a February 16th game, a significant setback for the team that has struggled to build cohesiveness amongst its stars. As far as the booing goes, Westbrook dismissed the notion that he takes it home with him. Jake DeBrusk finished off a natural hat trick less than a minute into the second period, and the visiting Boston Bruins extended their winning streak to 5 games with a 7-0 rout over the Los Angeles Kings on Monday. Eric Hollis scored 2 goals, Patrice Bergeron had a goal with 2 assists, and Taylor Hall added a goal, and DeBrusk also notched an assist for Boston, which improved to 3-0-0 to start a 6-game road swing. Jeremy Swayman made 34 saves in his 3rd shutout of the season. This was DeBrusk's first career hat trick, his 10th career multi-goal game, and it came in his first 5 minutes and 25 seconds of ice time. It gave the Bruins forward 7 goals in his past 5 games and 2 multi-goal games in his past 3 contests. Kings goalie Jonathan Quick made 14 saves on 19 shots before he was pulled in the second period. Los Angeles saw its 5-game winning streak end while losing by 7 goals for the first time since November 13th, 2009, when it also fell 7-0 to the Atlanta Thrashers. Kings 0, Bruins 7. As always, I'm Thomas Christian, and thanks for tuning in.
And that's all we have for you tonight. We'd love to have you back on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Feel free to let us know if you have any news tips for our show. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and our website. I'm Liang Zhang. We'll see you next time.